Hi guys, good day sa tanan. So we are going to discuss today chapter 2 or unit 2 of our subject facilitating learner-centered teaching. Okay, so what is chapter 2 or what is unit 2? What is the focus? Okay, so the focus of this chapter is the effective communication for learning. Okay, so of course, chapter one we had a teaching philosophy, and then this one is communication. So of course, when we talk about communication, we have to take it two things. No, we have to consider two things. First is the sender, and next one is the receiver. Or we can also say someone will be the one communicating, and someone will also be responding. Okay, so it can be a dialogue type or a questioning type. So the challenge here is that in the teaching field, of course, effective communication or being communicative is really going to be important. So if you're talkative, you're still young, I believe you may have the chance of being a good teacher because I think it's impossible for a teacher not to be communicative, not talkative. So um very good na kaya na siya nga if you love to talk, because again this work, our job is to socialize with other people, no? Especially learners. So that's why communication is a vital part of the teaching learning process. So it's going to be difficult to deliver learning without communication. So moving on, of course, we know how to communicate, but there will be certain guidelines for us when we communicate in the learning process. So it's not the same as communication towards your family or communication towards your peers. So this one is going to be very formal. It should be very should be educational also. So unlike sa kung nga informal you can approach, for example, being with your peers, so there are some words nga inyong gamiton nga inappropriate, in which dili gid pwede sa atua diri sa teaching field. Okay? So, all right. So effective communication for learning. So in the 21st century, a rigorous need for active questioning in the classroom from both teachers and students. So kailangan gid siya, no? So both parties are expected to generate and react to questions that focus on important aspects, make conclusions, and provide data to back up their arguments. So sometimes you have to make a point, and sometimes you may not be able to make the point because you're having a hard time expressing it or communicating it. So therefore, it is important to teach students how to be metacognitive or how to think about their thinking so that they can ask and respond to questions that advance their learning. And teachers ask questions to encourage collaboration among students, but they tend to rely more on their own judgment to know whether something is correct. So there are instances when leaving some questions unanswered helps students get in their learning mood, picks their attention and boosts motivation. So muna siya, no? Especially the things that you say in class, how relevant it is, how catchy it is. So muna siya, it will really get their attention. I mean, not only just by speaking English, just because may kay mo English, you already get their attention, but labaw na if ang unod sa imong gaypang storya kay makes sense ba, no? So by engaging in meaningful asking and discussion strategies themselves, so teachers can help their students learn how to ask probing questions and seek out answers. So what is a probing question? So it's like giving out questions to get to the point kana para ma-sure gid nimo ba nga sakto ba ang imong nasabtan. No? So sometimes murag para maklaro ba unsay imong gipasabot sa imong kastorya. So that's why mangutana kag balik. So working in the call center, this is very very common, no? Probing questions. All right. So, critical measures of a teacher's efficacy in the classroom include the use of questions. So again, in the communication na agad na rise of the questions, di ba? So teachers should concentrate on asking consistently good open-ended questions that give students time to think and react. So prepared questions are better for engaging students in class. By doing this, instructors may ensure that questions are relevant to the lesson's learning objectives and that they are meaningful in nature. So with the chance for discussion, well-scaffolded questions encourage students to explore new ideas and significant links to the real world. So, um, when you say scaffolded questions, so murag nahog ba nga, they are puzzle pieces to the foundation of the learning for that day. So Magnog, now you will give this question, and then if they will answer this question, you will give this question. If they will give this answer, then you will give this type of question. So like planned questions bang imong gipang ready nga pwede nimo mahatag sa imong mga students. So na nakigipang ready nga mga questions. So perhaps you can use index cards to raise those questions. And so muna siya nga para guided pud ka. And these questions will guide the flow of the lesson as well. Okay? So whom do you consider as a famous good speaker? So any name can be considered or written on the board. So sa kuha, I'm going to present of course Dr. Filomena T. Daigbil, the previous president of CNU. And I can say that she is a good speaker because she is very, very spontaneous, no dead air, and uh, the words that's coming out of her mouth is very, very catchy. I mean, from the way she's speaking it and the unod of the content of what she is saying. So I hope that you get the chance to listen to her soon, before you graduate, guys. No. Kay she is one of the kuan gyud, one of the pillars right now in the Philippines, no? In the Philippines education si Ma'am Dayagbil. Okay? So, kuan gid kay na siya kanang brilliant kay na siya paminawon and brilliant pud kayo iyang mga ideas. So sometimes kung naay meeting nga mag-abot ming duha, sometimes murag mo duol ang mga tao sa iya to give the final verdict or decision about it. Kay murag nahog na siya gyud makahatag og wisdom sa amo ang meeting or sa among seminar nga sometimes kanang maglalis-lalis na or kanang di na may magasinabot sa among mga ideas muna din na mo come in din as ma'am maminaw tanan because of how the way she's delivering it, and then pag-abot po din sa content nindot pagid kaayo kay very kuan jud ba og sa sudan pag grabe ka kuan jud ba edible jud kayo kanang feasible jud kayo iyang mga ideas gyud ni Ma'am Dayagbil. So muna siya nung dili ra ta tamanyaw-yaw dapat napud ta sa ideas pud nga na, no? Pero napud bay uban nga maayo kay ideas pero dili pud kay bumustorya. So muna siya a little bit of both, or you need to have both gyud, no? Especially if you're a teacher, so you should have ideas nga ma-share nimo, no? And dapat kay pud ka mo share pud ana. Okay? Aside from that, usa sa ganan po kay ni Ma'am Dayagbilday is when you speak to her, she really looks at you, no? She's really paying attention to you ba? Dili bitaw na muraga multitask nga storya ka well na siya gabuhat og gibuhat og lahi ang usa imong kastorya. Pero siya kay if kastorya gid nimo siya kitan-awon jud kaniya sa mata. So murag ma-feel gid nimo ba ang sincerity bitaw sa inyong conversation duha. Ing-ana siya ka-effective communicator si Ma'am Dayagbil. Alright? So, moving on. So, communication serve as the foundation of every facet of teaching and learning. Effective communication in the classroom is communication between the teacher. Effective communication in the classroom is communication between the teacher and the learners to deliver, receive, and understand the message or lesson successfully. In teaching, effective communication is the process of information sharing in a way that keeps in mind what the teacher and the students want to say, what is said, and how this lesson or message is interpreted. Okay. Wait lang ha. Alright. So muna siya guys nga in the communication process, uh, you will really need to of course, really pay attention nga naman because you have to understand what they're saying. And maybe talking about kung baka nang mag-chat bitaw mo, and then sometimes sa chat gabi ka common ang miscommunication kay sometimes ang gipasabot day sa imong ka-chat kay kini or something positive ra pero sa imo hagi negative na bitaw nimo. Just because sa when mag-chat magud ta kay di mo gud wala mo gyud emotion nga makita nato. So, muna siya nga kinahanglan gyud nga when we communicate, we have to understand, we have to process the information. So from the words that's coming out of the mouth of the student and to the sincerity guro niya sa iyahang the way siya mo explain or the way siya mo ga relay sa information sa imuha ba. Like if for example, naisunog, pero of course mo yung ka naisunog. So of course, no, kung may ka kag naisunog, so murag kuan jud ka kanang of course there should be sense of urgency. Dapat murag worried jud ka imong facial expression, imong body language nga murag mag-emphasize good og something nga it's not like there's an emergency. No, dili nga murag lanay sunog. So, of course, that's the wrong way to communicate also. Okay, so growing better communication habits for becoming future teachers means practicing effective communication skills and being a powerful communicator. So, I believe sa inyong Benlak, you have the subject communication literacy as well. I hope that you can still remember how it is to be a good communicator. Okay, so Manisha, what are the examples of effective communication? So good communication is an integral element when it comes to communication in the workplace. So there are definitions of what it is all about. So Google definition said the imparting or exchanging of information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium, means of sending or receiving information such as telephone, lines, or computers. So nga na daw siya imparting or exchanging. So muna siya nga sa communication literacy, 'di ba, dapat na mo receive, na mo send sa information, tapos ang katong mo receive, of course, mo interpret siya, yung subtone, and then, of course, if wala niya na subtone, mo probe siya, if nakasabot siya, mo affirm siya sa gisulti, 'di ba? So, muna siya, communication, effective communication should be, murag para nako dialogue ba? You are able to create a conversation between one another. So, imagine talking to your crush for the first time. I don't know if you can perform uh, effective communication kay medyo uh, nervous kita na nga nga instance. But anyways, Merriam-Webster said the act or process of using words, sounds, signs, no, signs or behaviors to express or exchange information to express your ideas, thoughts, feelings, etc. to someone else. So, di ba? So, even our body language um, can be set as communication. All right. So here are the 7 principles of communication. So why do we need the 7 principles of communication? Because we need to have the ability to present lessons in a manner that is understandable to the target audience. So we need to know these levels. As for basic education, teachers' ability to communicate effectively requires an understanding of the level where his or her students are. So if college teacher kanya mo tudlo ka karon og elementary, so of course no that's you may need to practice first how to approach the elementary way kung gikan kag college. So um ingana gina siya no nga kinahanglan you have to take it into consideration. So that's why you need to understand the different levels or the principles. Okay, so number one, concrete. So when the message that you want to convey is concrete, not liable to have fallen. So your audience will have a clear picture of what you're trying to tell them. So it will only be concrete when it has suitable data that backs it up. Your argument should be supported by factual material that includes data and figures, so leaving no space for the audience to imagine things. So another one, coherence. So the whole point behind your message will be useless when you are not coherent. You need to have a good understanding of what goes where and what comes when. Coherent communication is logical. So it was well planned, logical, and sequential manner of communication. So starting with the concrete, so kinahanglan jud nga kuan jud kanang maka kung pwede pa lang daan ma-present jud tag something jud nga kuan jud presentation jud para nga masabtan jud nila no or makamihimo jud ta sa tuang point, di ba? So muna nga or muna dapat tarungon ginato siya og explain. Aside from that, coherent, so muna siya dapat kanang well planned siya, so dapat kahibaw ka mo organize imong thoughts, labo na kanang out of the blue, i-question kasi mong teacher and then let's say HOTS kind of question, higher order thinking skills. So you need to come up with the best answer that you can give laban ng graduan ang oral recitation nimo. So that's why skill pud na sa usa ka teacher nga kahibaw ka mo kuan mo plano and then you make the sequence of your response to the question. So kana, di ba? So dapat pas-pas ka processing ana to make it coherent. And right, let's see. Okay, number three, what format you want to say it in, no? So that the reader doesn't head up scratching or to understand what you mean. So kanina na, di ba? So we're going back to sa pagka-coherent. So nga na po dapat klaro gid imong message gid nga gikuan. So let's say kung now and then sometimes hinang signal so magkarat-karat so muna siya dili kay masabtan or gusto isulti. Diba? So, for example, the sentence should be short, prefer the active voice, and state it in separate bulleted points. Also, mas nindot guro nga kana may pagka kung ano, direct to the point, okay, direct to the point. But of course, maybe try to have it very kuan lang, no? Have it courteous as well. So, dili po ta nga kanang kuan punta. Nikaw, murag ka ng task, just like sa mag-away mo sa mong boyfriend or girlfriend, task ka yaw ito bago na kagkay. Diba? So, sarcastic, ayo po. So that's the challenge sometimes for me kung kanang kuan tapos kita mga tubag. Okay? And understanding atong kastorya kay mga professionals or what if si Ma'am Daibil, president of the school, yung kastorya niya na tubag. So of course, we are very rude. And number four, commitment also. Um, it convinces the prospects kindly, so a committed message will leave a greater impact and increase your morale. So man siya, it simply measures one's dedication and the degree to which one communicates surety in the argument. So muna siya nga, muna ba nga kinahanglan ipa-feel gid mo nga you are in the conversation. Kaya nga na. So munang lisod kay usay sometimes multitasking can be kuan, insulting to others. So but sometimes po wa pud tay choice po kinahanglan jud mag-multitask. So nga na gyud. However, in the communication dapat committed yun ta, no? All right. Consistency. So, the choice of words matters when you are communicating at work. So, your words shouldn't leave your team confused. So, you need to communicate your message in the least possible words and have a consistency of tone, voice, and content so that you can save time. So, there's no room for repetition. Try to use short sentences and short words. So, kind of sometimes, kung maging essay, dagan kay flowering words or taas kaya to ang introduction ra, di ba? So number six, completeness. So never leave your sentence incomplete. So each message must have a logical conclusion, and people shouldn't be left wondering. Kinahanglan jud nga you may have a start, introductory statement, and you should have also a concluding statement to end it up, no? So something like that. All right. And lastly, sorry, be courteous. So let's keep it positive. So maybe guro nga there are times nga in a communication, of course, there will be an argument. Argument is also a communication. And sometimes we kuan gid mawala gid ang ato ang composure na masuko ta. So muna siya let's try to keep our composure just like natay mga madunggan nga di kay taganahan. So mali na murag ma-provoke na din ta. So there are some issues that we have to be careful about when talking. So maybe for example politics and religion nga kinahanglan gyud nga kuan kay ana kanang keen kay we have to be kuan pod conscious sa nagka-feel pod sa uban, no? So muna siya nga courteous ta sa kuan. So aside from that, you should be careful also with offensive words. Wa ka kahibaw kanang ging nag-offensive word ka sa chat kay kaila ra nimo silingan na nimo sulungan kasi nyo and mo din na kuan nga madukol ni noon ka, no? So sometimes may ra kay bata mo yaw kung wala ang tao diha. So um of course when there's a conflict we can always keep it positive jud ang ato ang approach to that. So that's also a skill, di ba? So the seven principles of communication. All right, so here's another one. There are four communication skills you kanang imong body language, no? Imong mga imong gipakita karon, mga hand gestures, imong mga emotion, imong mga facial expressions. So just like this one, no? Cross our folded arms, na siya meaning defensiveness daw na siya. Hands held behind the body, so confidence, mending clothes, accessories, watch, nervousness. Also just like student teaching na mo, or mag-reporting mo or teaching demo mo. Sometimes you may get nervous, nga di na mo kabantay, you're doing silly stuff on the stage, no? So kanang for example, usually makita na ko sa mga students, magsigid ka po sa ID or magtuyok sa ID, and then nakalimot na rin sila nga they're doing that. Okay, or kanang magsigig sulti ganik so ako po that's also my challenge kay I have that challenge also nga makalimot ko I keep on saying na di ay. All right? So number two, active listening. Number three, delivering with confidence. And four, keep it positive. So it's almost the same as the seven principles po. However, kining sa active listening, this is also a skill sa call center nga kinahanglan jud ninyong makuha nga dili na mo mag-probing questions dapat kay dali man gud nimo mahuman ang call, dapat jud so muna nga makuha nimo diri sa unsay concern sa customer nga nang itawag siya. So that is active listening. So dapat yun nga, you should pay attention. Paying attention at the highest level, that's active listening. All right? So moving on. So muna siya, don't forget about this guys, career. All right? Okay, kuan na ba? Di ba again sa yun ang atuang trabaho. Okay, so therefore, there are generally four main areas of communication skills. So the most, well, communication, emotional awareness, and management and questioning. So muna siya, 5 tips for effective communication. If di kanino makita, number 1, communicate relentlessly. Number 2, simplify and be direct. Number 3, listen and encourage input. Number 4, illustrate through stories. And number 5, affirm with actions. So those are the 5 C's of communication as a checklist. So remember to be clear, cohesive, complete, concise, and concrete. So murag ba siya balik-balik ra gid siya no, but muna sa nindot pod guro nga daghan kay taog kanang reminders gyud. So here comes the second area of communication, which is questioning. So of course no, questioning is relevant in teaching because we will really give questions. And sometimes sa bagay no, not all teachers are very good one good not good when it comes to giving out questions. May guro ang imong skills paghatag sa question kay taman ra og kanang mga factual ra. Dili ka ka challenge na to ang paghimo og mga critical thinking jud kay nga mga questions nga magamit og higher order thinking skills, di ba? So taman ra ta sa Hukil Magellan or kuan, what is the capital of the Philippines? So murag nga na guro sayo na kay nga mga questions ba knowledge based ra. So going back to the Bloom's taxonomy nga maabot ta karon diha, of course no, we can be guided with that. Okay, so muna siya nga, if we want our the best for our students, so muna siya to test them, matag putag sayon, matag putag something na kuan gyud nila, maka trigger gyud nila or masana mo challenge gyud sila to give their judgment or maka-critic sila or maka-differentiate and then defend, di ba, sa ilang response. So something like that. Okay? So a question is a sentence that seeks an answer for information, collection, test, and research. And then write questions, produce accurate responses, and aid in collecting actionable quantitative and qualitative data. So questions have over the years evolved into different question types to collect different sets of information. So the art of asking the right questions help to gain deep insights. So make informed decisions and develop effective solutions. So muna mo, guys, no? Focus mo mo kung mag-discussion mo ka. So to know how to ask good questions, better understand first the basic question types. Right, let's take a look. Okay, budget lang. So what is factual soliciting? So reasonably simple, straightforward answers based on obvious facts or awareness. Also, just like for example, what is the former name of Jakarta? So magnog knowledge-based kay siya. But here's another one, convergent. So these types of questions are usually within a very finite range of acceptable comprehension, application analysis, or ones where the answer makes inferences or conjectures based on personal awareness or on material read, presented, or known. So magnog nga nagkataas-taas ng level karon sa imong paghatag og questions. So you are aiming at lots of levels na. So comprehension, application analysis, and so on. These questions allow students to explore different avenues. Also, murag na they will research, no, mangita sila og other resources to get the answer. So murag na dili ra kay silang book guro taman, no, create many different variations and alternative put sila ilang kaugalingon nga answer. So just like this one, in the love relationship of Hamlet and Ophelia, what might have happened to the relationship if their lives, in their lives, if Hamlet had not been so obsessed with the revenge for his father's death? So you are encouraged now to create your own conclusion if we will change the story, something like that. Number 4, evaluative. So muna siya nga requires siya og sophisticated levels of cognitive or emotional judgment, no? So what are the similarities and differences between the deaths of Ophelia compared to that of Juliet? So nga kuyo kay no, imong ipang-connect sa other stories, questions, or other resources. So number 5, combination. These are questions that blend any combination of the above. Okay, so combine din ka, and you will become a very good communicator in terms of questioning, di ba? If I can remember, no, i-highlight na ko itong Mr. and Miss Education pag sa Mr. and Miss Education 2025. Nice gyud kay mga questions nga gipangatagid sa mga judges ato. All right. Like when you get to murag na-challenge gyud atong mga contestants ato. Classification of questions. So the most effective way to keep a lecture moving is identify misconceptions and start a discussion that helps pupils grasp a subject better is to ask questions. So in the classrooms, teachers have a lot of authority and influence. Sometimes the impact on a child's perspective and attitude toward learning. The types of questions used in the classroom have a significant impact on students' involvement and development also. Sometimes ako nabantayan if ang student imong mahatag nga questions kay grabe ka kanang mga HOTS, makuan ba gid sila kanang mura sila ganahan kaayo mo pay attention sa imong klase kay of the quality of questions that you give. So bisan ako guro I may not say nga I'm not really that good, but I'm always I'm always um careful with the questions I give, no? I'm always hoping that I am giving out very, very significant questions labaw na ganang kuan na to see if the students really understood the topic. So bali-balihon jud nimo ba ang pagpangutana sa imong mga students. Okay? So, um such questions as do you understand and what is the solution? So may seem entirely innocent, but they prevent some kids from learning. So that's why murag going back guro ta sa probing questions. So what is the solution or do you understand? Okay, probing questions. So, sure good mo. Sige, what if dog ing ani? So challenge na po na to mga students and by that more it ma-measure gyud nato ilahang kamaayo ba, ilang pagsabot. Okay, so it's always a good idea for teachers to evaluate all interactions to make sure they are bringing out the best in the students. So often a slight change in language can drastically improve a straightforward contact with the child. So liberating them to take chances, communicate their thoughts and ideas, and ultimately improve as learners. Okay. Answers of questions here are the following. So, because we have here the type of question that require clarification. Why did you say that? What does that mean? How does this relate to your earlier statement? O kana. Nindot kini siya, labo nagmagkuan na, mag-oral recitation. So questions, probing assumptions. Can that statement be validated? What beliefs are assumed here? Might there be other agendas involved by those who are making these claims? So if kamoy pangutano na nino, dapat yun nga makatubag yun mo because if dili, pasabot yun nga, wag yun data naminaw, wag yun data kasabot. Okay, questions, probing, reasoning, and evidence. So what do you think the causes are and why? Is there any evidence and or facts that support this? How complex is the issue? So another one, questions, probing perspective. Is there another way to look at this? What are the arguments to the contrary, if any? Can you provide an overall rationale? Mm. Questions, probing implications. So what consequences can you see arising? So can a generalization be made? Or another one, questions about the question. So why is this question relevant? What does this mean in practical terms? So man siya nga we can always explore, no? Usay gani kanang one of the things to you can do to make your class very rich in reaching for them the type of questions that you give. That's it. Okay? And then classrooms need to be safe spaces where mistakes, lack of understanding, and confusion should be accepted, if not celebrated. So again, when you give questions, and fortunately, nagi dili 100% correct or accurate, so na uban jud nga libog. So that's why good nga magkuan sila. Just grab the cellphone. Nag-recording naman ko. So that's why nga kuan gyud naiuban nga teachers nga wala gyud proper manners pag abot nga na di sila kay ba mo respond sometimes tactless kaayo muna nga maka-offend og mga bata masakitan mo din na nga ma-feel bad pud di atong mga students labo nag mga bata jud kaayo nga they're really aiming to give us very good answers but unfortunately wala na to siya na tubag wala nila ng tubag so muna siya as much as possible positive pud tanong dapat ma-motivate pa nato sa nga to give a better answer. So muna siya guys no nga kuan gid ni siya kanang aside from isa pa ni you're 90% correct, you're almost there, no? Or good try. Okay, we can do better with that next time. I'll give you another question. I'll get back to you and I will really look for a good answer from you. Okay? So mura ka na dapat gid mga mo focus sa ila positively pod. Okay? So, teachers should not be satisfied with a shallow level of knowledge, so but move on a little to know and distinguish that the students simply took an educated guess and somehow can guide the learners for reasons even she doesn't understand but get the answer right. So in this lesson, the students can be clarified that there are four types of questions and which of these different types are commonly used and to give the correct answer they need to be able to prepare. So kana siya sa to ang klase. All right, lang of questions, general or yes or no questions, and then specials and disjunctive or tag-tail questions. Naputay 6 types of questions that Socrates posed: clarifying concepts, probing assumptions, probing rationally, reasons and evidence, questioning viewpoints and perspectives, probing implications and consequences, and questioning the question. So it's almost the same as the kuan, the same as the slide, no? Mag-demo ra bagid mo how to make questions, and then you can also expect what should be the best so ka nimo answer. Labo na kung imong questions kay mga kuan jud mga higher order thinking skills, so you gotta be care. You have to be kuan jud. You have to make a rubric na murag that is only in your mind nga maka-identify gyud this is the correct answer. Okay? So how do I do that? If I'm in that situation, ako yung gabuhaton is I go back to the question, which part of the question is the critical part, and dapat ma-address to niya. So if dili niya ma-address, so the point may be lesser, no? Maminusan guro siya. Yan. So it depends. All right. So talking about the Bloom's and Anderson's taxonomy of learning. So 1956, Benjamin Bloom, with collaborators Max Engelhardt, Edward First, Walter Hill, and David Krathwohl, wrote the taxonomy of educational objectives, so better known as Bloom's taxonomy. The original body of work outlined how to categorize educational goals. So since its inception, generations of teachers and instructors have adapted the model to create clearer learning objectives, classroom activities, and key performance indicators, so often illustrated as a pyramid. So Bloom's original taxonomy consisted of knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So of course, you are familiar with this already, guys. So we can use this actually when we are thinking of questions nga mahatag nato sa mga bata, or when we think of activities pod, no? So still those are questions nga ma-challenge sa mga bata pod kan mga activities na to. Kay mutan-aw ata sa ilang skills pod. Okay? So muni siya karon ang kangkuan kang Anderson kini sa 2001 while ang kang Bloom is kini 1956. And you can see there nga na-cross na siya, and then ang kalian is noun to verb form na siya. But however, when we do questioning, it's more of kang Bloom's tang approach. Okay, kaya ang kini kung kang Anderson is more of kung ano siya, futuristic man gud siya. And it may be difficult to measure it. Okay, it's already future naman, no? So, however, when inside the classroom, so mag-exam ta, and muna siya natin knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, we can make questions if we base it from these levels. So, pinakaubos knowledge, so murag nahog nga kuan siya, knowledge-based question. So, who killed Magellan? Comprehension. So, like, kuan, more of understanding nila. And application, gamito nila ilang nakatunan. And then analysis, of course, mo analyze sila. Synthesis, mo create sila og something. And evaluation is murag mo critique sila, mo defend, mo judge sila. So, muna siya guys nga, there are so many things that you can do sa imuhang klase nga ma-challenge gyud ang mga bata. Okay, so art of questioning. So all teaching and learning lie in the art of questioning. So questioning, which is the basis of teaching tasks, encourages recalling, deepens the learning process and comprehension, promotes imagination and problem solving, satisfies the sense of curiosity, and increases creativity. So teachers need to remember to ask questions of all students, even those who may struggle. When presenting questions, content-specific vocabulary should be used, and many of the questions asked should be open-ended and elicit a variety of responses from students. By doing so, teachers are communicating high expectations for all students. So, di ba? Nga na gina ka ta mohatag og questions, guys. Murag dry jud kay ang klase. Murag dili mo good enough nga mohatag ra kag information ang teacher, and then no questioning after the discussion. Di ba? Kay what bisan guro walay clarification from the students, pero what ta kay ba, because maybe silence means loading, no? So dili siya silence means yes. So silence means loading. So muna siya nga, you should not be satisfied, especially if napay time nga left sa before ma-end ang klase. So you can give them questions and see if they nakasabot pa gid sila. Kay maybe muna hilong kay mga bata kay wa di kasabot. So that might be a possibility. So it's hard to assume. So that's why nga nakatuon ang mga bata. Okay? So we're almost done, guys. And the art of questioning is the most potent weapon in the educational armory of the teacher. So during a lesson, the teacher will have to ask different types of questions depending on the situation and purpose to be achieved. So like this one, so the aim of questioning is to motivate students. So, going back to the lesson plan, so motivation part, what should be the questions kayong ihatag to create interest nila? So to test what student knows, and to encourage, to stimulate thinking. So pag abot gid sa imong discussion pod, of course, no, dapat i-stimulate nimo ilahang understanding. So to clear ambiguities and doubts nila. So muna siya, if di po ta dapat masuko if ever magsigig pangutan na tong mga students, we have to be happy kay curious gud sila, kay naglibog man sila, so gusto nila i-clarify, and you should be happy about that because that's why you're there, to clarify things, di ba? So kinahanglan jud nga you should be, dili ka dapat magdali-dali if time comes nga daghan gid mga pangutana imong mga students. Okay? And overall questioning techniques include the following. Number one, state the question clearly and precisely. So same also with communication, di ba? Kung mag-send kag information, dapat clear gid siya, no? So it should not be ambiguous, lengthy, encourage guesswork, and vague. But however, uban gid nga mga questions, sabagid nga tag-as labaw nagkuan, kuya lang guro oral recitations, just like Mr. and Miss nga mga contest, mga pageants, kuyaw kayo ang question labo nag-lengthy kay daghan kay dumdumon ang mo answer pero kung reading guro I think it will napay chance nga maka um gather ang mo answer and ma-organize yung thoughts and then give a very kuan good nice answer, concise answer. It should be direct, straightforward, and understandable. So language should be simple. It should be relevant to the topic. Also, kana language should be simple. So sometimes you don't need words nga kanang mga dili kay commonly used, no? So um, but you have to take note also guys nga inig-take niyo yung examination nagi mga questions nga gamugamit og words nga dili mo aware or di mo kay sa definition. So muna siya congrats na lang yun but muna siya the key for that is you have to be knowledgeable with you have to be um knowledgeable with words so that if na kwan just like mag-take aglet natagan ka question nga di ka kaibaw sa word di man ka pwede makapangutana sa proctor. So, even though it says language should be simple, but it's your job also to be knowledgeable. Okay? So, it should be relevant to the topic as well. So, nga na. So, pause after asking the questions. So, address it to the entire class. Pause before calling on someone to understand and think. To formulate the answer. So, chance to think all students. And it helps to formulate original responses. And the length of students' responses increased and failures to respond decreased. So confidence increased, speculative thinking increased, student to student comparing increased, so higher level thinking responses increased. So muna siya kuan guys ang um, murag ang process ba, no? So kanang dili pud guro ta mo tawag ta diretso sa someone to answer. You address it to the entire class and then of course give them the chance to think, process, and let them call. I mean, let them answer the question na dayon. May buwan mo gani mo na nga lisod imong gihatag nga question kay they may not raise their hands right away. If sa'yo na jud kay pataas ka mo or wa pagay ka na human sa imong pangutana gitubag na ka, no? So muna siya you have to be kuan, you have to be sensitive also kung mahatag kag kuan chance for them to answer. No? So, murag na the question maybe is how long. So, of course, time is of the essence. We are only given a little bit of time. So, I believe 5 to 10 seconds is already enough, no? Kung college guro, or pero muna siya kung kabante mo guro mo sa mga pageants, they're given around 5 seconds to 10 seconds guro to answer the question. Ay nga na. So, please correct me if I'm wrong with that. Okay? Um, basta kay inside the classroom, ikaw man gid ang mag-facilitate and you know if the students are having a hard time and kung mga questions, always give them um the chance to process. Okay? So this is it guys for our chapter 2 or unit 2 and kuan, I will see you all soon and please stand by for my activities. So kuan, later naguro na siya, standby lang ta. We will focus on the discussion. So thank you very much for your time accessing this video that I prepared. Thank you very much guys and God bless. Tapos ang stop.